So much has been said about the media, the mainstream media, the legacy media. There's not really much to add because we all know that it's not really a disinterested media, but it's kind of a Pravda-like propaganda organ. You're trying to gin up momentum, enthusiasm for a cause, a left-wing cause that 50% of the population just doesn't support. More recently, when Mr. Ramaphosa came to the White House, the president of South Africa, did you see the word ambush? It was in every mainstream paper, every left-wing website, every radio, NPR, PBS, CBS, MSNBC. It's like the Democratic operatives issue a Pravda-like order. And then these mindless people just say, okay, today's talking points are there was no secret place. It wasn't a sudden unexpected attack from a secret place, the definition of an ambush, yet it was ambush, 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 ambush. And when some questions arose about the visit, it was just typical. The press secretary, Caroline Levitt, fielded a question from an NPR journalist. But she was very angry because Donald Trump mentioned to President Ramaphosa that, see this picture of 1,000 graves.
Victor Davis Hanson doesn't hold back. He says corporate media aren't just biased. They're acting like state-run propaganda, pushing narratives half the country doesn't buy. Why? To control opinion, not inform it. Take those ambush headlines. It's as if every outlet got the same memo. This isn't journalism. It's orchestration. Let's unpack how far the pattern really goes.
And she said, well, he was lying, there weren't graves. And the press secretary replied back, they were commemorations. Each one of those crosses represents a dead South African who was murdered by virtue of his race. And she said, yes, but it's not. So what they were arguing about, the NPR, was semantics, that Trump had improperly, and he had improperly, confused grave with cenotaph.
Think about this. Why would NPR argue over the word grave instead of the killings themselves? Hanson calls it a distraction tactic. Shift the focus to language, and you never confront the violence. It's not mere semantics. It's a strategy to protect the narrative and dodge uncomfortable truths.
But NPR was so fixated on embarrassing the president that they didn't even want to discuss the fact that there were 1,000 crosses, and they did represent individual lives destroyed because of their race, but she just wanted to make the point that you could nullify all of that and excuse it by saying they were not graves but cenotaphs. And there you have it. So lately, we see it everywhere, and we had the tragic killing of Mr. Lashinsky and his fiancée, Miss Milgram, at the 2 Jewish diplomatic workers in Washington.
So why harp on wording? Because if you debate labels, you don't have to report the story. Hanson shows how the press fixates on definitions to downplay the deaths of South African farmers. It's more than spin. It's suppression. That same impulse to hide the story surfaces again, this time in Washington, D.C.
What was interesting about it, I've been reading the mainstream media accounts. So Elias Rodriguez goes in there, shoots, empties a gun 21 times, murders these wonderful couple, and then he yells, "Free Palestine," and they just can't resist. They have the description of the shooting. They mention who he was. They don't mention the left-wing groups that he worked with or the funding that came from places like the MacArthur Foundation that funded groups that he used to work for. Or they don't mention the fact that his father attended Congress as a guest of a Democratic congressman. But they do this usually about 8 paragraphs down. They say, and tensions rose because of the Israeli assault on Gaza and the thousands of deaths. In other words, they're trying to contextualize the murder.
Then they go further, framing the murders as fallout from Gaza. Hanson argues that this isn't context, it's cover. Downplay the motive, recast it as geopolitics, shift the blame, and the narrative stays intact. Who benefits when violence gets excused like this?
It all is in an atmosphere of Jake Tapper co-authoring this Original Sin book, when he was one of the principal people who promulgated the idea that Joe Biden was completely fit, and anybody who questioned it, Lord Trump was a good example, he demonized and tried to destroy on national TV. Now he's going to make millions saying, I didn't do it, they did. And it's an indictment of the Biden circle who knew that he was cognitively challenged. We knew it. I shouldn't even say they knew. Everybody knew it.
Jake Tapper's turn is telling. The anchor who dismissed questions about Biden's fitness is now cashing in with a book exposing it. Hanson calls it out. The media didn't just miss the story, they helped bury it. Now, when it's profitable, they're rewriting history. That isn't mere hypocrisy. It's monetized deception.
But they were prevented from commenting, or they were demonized if they did comment, by the media and by the Biden team. You were operating in the same fashion you did to promulgate the Russian collusion lie that you never apologized, the laptop disinformation lie that you've never apologized for, the 51 intelligence authorities that you never apologized for, the partnering of the FBI with social media to censor the news before the 2020 election that you never talked about. This is a pattern, and it won't stop with this. And the result is you wonder why, whether when you look at liberal polls or liberal media, nobody has any confidence anymore. Nobody trusts you. Don't you understand that? When you say ambush, 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 or you ask questions that don't even get to the point, just a matter of semantics. We know what you're doing. You're trying to gin up momentum, enthusiasm for a cause, a left-wing cause, that 50% of the population just doesn't support.
If you found this breakdown helpful, hit that like button so more people see it. And if you want more sharp takes on global power plays, go ahead and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.